So, 2 months ago, Luka Zidane broke his jaw in half.
Oh, yeah. Completely fractured.
Right. And most goalkeepers, faced with a fractured face just weeks before a massive international tournament, they just wire their mouth shut.
Yeah, you accept your fate.
Exactly. You sit on the couch and you watch the World Cup from your living room. But instead, Zidane straps on this heavy, really restrictive, protective mask.
Which has to be awful to play in.
Oh, totally. But he just demands to get back onto the training pitch because he was not going to miss this playing.
It really wasn't.
And why? Because the son of France's absolute greatest footballing legend is somehow the final crucial puzzle piece to what is probably the most terrifying, unpredictable team arriving in North America this week.
The absolute most volatile team, yeah.
Right. And today is June 10th, 2026. We are literally hours away from the kickoff of the World Cup. So we need to talk about Algeria.
We really do.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the ultimate ghost ship narrative of international football right now.
The ghost ship, yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Because if you think back to 2014, right? Algeria pushed the eventual world champions, Germany, to the absolute agonizing brink in that knockout match.
People still talk about that game.
They do. They were a team that commanded the attention of tens of millions of people. They projected this aura of total fearlessness. And then
It just vanished.
completely vanished from the World Cup stage for 12 long years. I mean, missing 2018, missing 2022, just gone.
Gone. Right. And when you look at the massive stack of sources we've pulled for this deep dive today, we've got, tactical blueprints, FIFA historical archives, betting odds, exclusive player interviews. You start to really realize the sheer weight resting on this squad.
Oh, it's immense.
When Algeria steps onto the pitch in Kansas City in a few days,
Yeah.
they are carrying the expectations of an entire football-obsessed nation.
Plus a massive, really passionate global diaspora.
Exactly. So our mission today is to figure out exactly who this team is right now, because we're looking at a newly rebuilt, highly technical squad.
A very different team than we've seen before.
Right. But before we even look at the 11 guys on the grass, we really have to understand the psychology of this team, because they are defined by these extreme, almost violent, competitive swings.
You really have to understand the binary nature of this squad. Like you said, they are the ultimate boom or bust operation.
Boom or bust.
Yeah, you look at their staggering highs. They are two-time Africa Cup of Nations winners, lifting the trophy in 1990 and then again relatively recently, in 2019.
Right, which was a huge deal.
But then you look at their baffling lows, like missing those back-to-back World Cups.
Yeah.
They're a team defined by extreme emotional momentum.
So when they believe they're giants.
Exactly. When they believe they are giants, but when they fracture, they just collapse entirely. And a great way into understanding the complex psychology is actually to look at what they call themselves.
Oh, the nicknames.
Right. In international football, nicknames aren't just, cute marketing mascots to sell jerseys to fans. For Algeria, these monikers are deeply embedded cultural, tactical, and psychological drivers.
I love this.
Yeah. The most famous one, of course, is Les Fennecs, the Fennec foxes.
The national animal of Algeria, right. Native to the Sahara.
Exactly.
But a fennec fox isn't like a lion or an eagle. It's this tiny nocturnal mammal with massive ears that survives in one of the absolute most hostile, blistering environments on planet Earth.
It's a survivor.
Right. It relies on agility, hyper-sharp instincts, and incredibly quick lateral movement. It survives by outthinking and outmaneuvering larger predators.
And when you sit down to watch Algeria play, that Fennec fox identity is highly visible.
Because they aren't trying to overpower you with sheer size.
No, not at all. They want to outmaneuver you in the tight spaces of the pitch before you even realize they've shifted gears. It's this rapid, almost nocturnal instinct for sudden, devastating speed.
Wow. But they also have a second nickname, right?
They do. They combine that fox agility with a much more combative secondary identity, which is the Desert Warriors, or Les Guerriers du Désert.
Which makes sense given the geography.
Deeply rooted in their geography and history. Over 80% of Algeria is covered by the Sahara Desert. So this nickname symbolizes pure endurance, stamina, and defensive resilience.
So when they're getting hammered by a bigger team?
Right. When the team is pinned back in their own half, when they're suffering physically in a grueling tournament match against a superior opponent like, say, Argentina.
Which they will be playing.
Which they will. This is the psychological anchor they lean on. It evokes a collective, unyielding warrior spirit.
You aren't just playing 11 athletes.
You are playing the harshness of the desert itself.
That is so intense. And then wrapping both of those identities together is their third moniker, which is simply the Greens, or El Qadra.
Drawn directly from the green of their national flag.
Right, which represents Islam, the fertile land of the north, and a really profound sense of national unity. So you combine the agility of the fox, the endurance of the desert warrior, and the absolute unity of the Greens, and you get the complete picture of the Algerian footballing psyche.
Which is a beautiful picture when it works.
When it works.
Yeah, but we have to acknowledge that over the last few years, that psyche has been deeply, deeply fractured.
Okay, let's unpack this. What happened?
Well, we mentioned they won the Africa Cup of Nations in 2019.
Right.
They did that under a manager named Jamel Belmadi, and he was a deeply passionate, emotional, fiery local hero. He rode that emotional wave to a trophy.
The fans must have loved him.
Oh, they adored him. But, you know, football evolves. Come the 2023 AFCON, the emotional well just ran dry. They crashed out in the group stage in absolute disaster.
I remember that. They didn't win a single game.
Failing to win a single game against supposedly lesser opposition. So Belmadi is sacked. The fan base turns toxic, divided, and furious. The team just looked completely lost.
And this is where the story of this current 2026 World Cup squad actually begins. Because in early 2024, the Algerian Football Federation brings in a new architect for this rebirth, Vladimir Petkovic.
Enter Petkovic.
And Petkovic is fascinating to me because his appointment makes zero sense on paper. I mean, you have a team that historically feeds on intense, fiery cultural emotion. You sack the beloved, hot-blooded local hero.
And replace him with a Swiss Bosnian coach.
Right. A guy whose main defining trait seems to be cold pragmatism, just calmly smiling and shaking hands. I mean, he is notoriously quiet on the touchline.
Very quiet.
So my question is, wait, how does a cold coach handle a hot-blooded team without losing the locker room entirely? How did that play with such an intense fan base?
Well, initially, the locker room and the media met him with extreme skepticism. People found his lack of visible passion irritating.
They wanted someone to scream and yell.
Exactly. They wanted a manager who would pound his chest on the sidelines. But Petkovic understood something fundamental. The team was drowning in its own pressure.
Oh, interesting.
The emotion had become a straitjacket. So Petkovic's calm, emotionless pragmatism was the exact surgical antidote to Algeria's highly emotional, reactive past.
So he just cooled everything down.
He completely ignored the noise of the media, he ignored the frantic expectations of the fans, and he just systematically stabilized the ship through raw tactical repetition.
So he surgically removed the team's reliance on raw emotion. But, I mean, you have to earn respect to survive doing that, right?
We do.
And our sources highlight that he did it by being utterly, terrifyingly ruthless. Like, behind that polite Swiss Bosnian exterior, Petkovic was perfectly willing to slaughter sacred cows.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when you have a golden generation that wins a major trophy like they did in 2019, the hardest thing for any nation to do is phase those aging legends out.
Managers always get nostalgic.
Right, and fans demand loyalty to the guys who won them a cup. But Petkovic came in, looked at the GPS tracking data, looked at the modern demands of international football, and just completely culled massive legendary names.
Wait, like who?
We are talking about Ismaël Bennacer, Youssef Belli, Baghdad Bounja.
Wow, those are huge names. National heroes.
They were. But Petkovic recognized that the modern World Cup requires extreme physical output, relentless sprinting, pressing, and recovery. He cut the emotional ties to build a more robust, durable engine.
But wait, doesn't that risk entirely alienating the locker room? If you cut the guys who the younger players idolized and then you lose your first match, the media and the players will instantly mutiny.
That's the risk, yes.
So how did he maintain authority without that veteran buy-in?
He maintained it because the results were instantaneous and undeniable. Under his guidance, they didn't just qualify for the World Cup. They absolutely stormed through their CKF qualifying Group G.
The stats on this are crazy.
They topped the group with 25 points out of a possible 30, 8 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, 24 goals scored.
That's total domination.
He brought a structural consistency that proved his cold methods worked. The players bought in because Petkovic made them undeniably better, faster, and harder to beat.
Okay, so when you strip away that fiery passion, what is the actual mechanical engine left behind on the pitch? Let's move into the tactical blueprint.
Let's do it.
When you watch Algeria line up, you are generally going to see Petkovic rely on a flexible 4-3-3 formation. But depending on who has the ball, that seamlessly shifts into a 4-2-3-1.
Right.
The entire philosophy is built on possession-based control that suddenly and violently explodes into transitional velocity.
So let's break down exactly what that looks like visually for you as you're watching the game.
Yeah.
They want the ball. They want to pass it around their own defensive third, probing and waiting.
Drawing the other team out.
Exactly. But the moment they see a crack in the opponent's shape, they don't slowly build an attack. They strike immediately. Their absolute greatest strength is that lightning-fast attacking transition.
And a massive part of this comes from how they use the width of the pitch.
Right.
It's vital.
They possess what is arguably one of the best fullback pairings in the entire tournament. On the left side, you have Riyad Mahrez from Manchester City. And on the right side, you have Amine Gouiri from Borussia Dortmund.
Right. And we need to explain how vital fullbacks are to modern football for anyone listening. When we say Gouiri provides an overlapping threat, we mean he doesn't just stay back and defend by the goal.
No, he is a premier attacking weapon.
He can carry the ball from deep inside his own half, sprint up the touchline, and create what we call a numerical overload.
Right. It basically just means if the opposing team has 2 guys defending the left side, Gouiri sprints up to make sure Algeria has 3 guys attacking that side.
He forces the defense into impossible choices. Who do you cover?
Exactly. And on the other side, Bennacer brings incredible physical aggression, winning defensive duels and launching long diagonal passes. Together, they stretch the opponent's defense to its absolute breaking point.
And here's the catch, that immense strength is intrinsically tied to their fatal flaw.
Yes, it is.
We mentioned earlier this is a boom or bust team. So if they're so fast and technically gifted, what's their fatal flaw? What breaks this beautiful, fast-flowing system?
What's fascinating here is their severe vulnerability to what tacticians call a low block.
Okay, which, for anyone watching this tournament, essentially looks like a team realizing they're entirely outgunned by Algeria's speed.
So they build a human wall inside their own penalty box.
Right. They drop 10 players deep, abandon the rest of the pitch, and just dare you to try and pass through a forest of legs.
Precisely. A low block completely eliminates the space behind the defenders. And because Algeria relies so heavily on that transitional speed, on running into empty space when the space is taken away, they suddenly look incredibly slow and ponderous.
You just get stuck.
They pass the ball horizontally, left to right, getting increasingly frustrated. But the real danger isn't just that they can't score against a low block.
It's what happens when they lose the ball.
Right. The danger is what happens when they lose the ball while trying to score, because of their rest defense.
Let's talk about rest defense.
Yes. Rest defense is a critical concept. It's how a team sets up its defensive structure while they currently have the ball. Think of it like setting up scaffolding before you build the roof of a house.
Okay, I like that analogy.
If the roof collapses, meaning you lose the ball, the scaffolding stops it from crushing you. But because Gouiri and Bennacer bomb so far forward to try and break down that low block,
they leave massive acres of empty green grass behind them.
Exactly. If the opponent intercepts the pass, they just kick the ball into that empty space, and suddenly Algeria is facing a deadly counterattack. Their center backs are left completely exposed.
And there is a psychological layer to this tactical flaw, too. If the game becomes chaotic, right, if they lose control of the tempo, the crowd gets loud, and they get dragged into a frantic end-to-end track meet where nobody's playing defense.
Their tactical structure tends to evaporate.
We saw exactly this when they were knocked out of the 2025 AFCON by Nigeria.
Yes, Nigeria pressed them intensely in a wildly chaotic environment, and Algeria's discipline simply shattered.
Which is exactly why Petkovic's roster construction is so fascinating. To survive those moments of chaos, he relies on a very deliberate mix of aging, calming royalty, and hungry, adrenaline-fueled new blood.
A very deliberate mix.
And you cannot talk about the calming royalty of Algerian football without talking about Riyad Mahrez.
The captain. The absolute icon of Algerian football for the last decade.
I mean, he is 35 years old now. He has 114 caps, 38 goals for his country. He won the Premier League. He won the Champions League with Manchester City.
An incredible resume.
But he's currently playing his club football in Saudi Arabia. This is his World Cup swan song, the final chapter. But realistically, what version of Mahrez are we getting in 2026?
Well, we have to be brutally honest about his physical evolution here. He is no longer the tireless, high-intensity runner who could press fullbacks for 90 minutes straight like he did under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City.
Right.
The Saudi Pro League operates at a significantly slower physical pace. His legs simply don't have that relentless engine anymore.
Sure.
But his technical quality, his vision, the physics of his magic left foot, those are permanent.
The guy is a wizard.
He remains utterly unmatched in his ability to deliver a pinpoint set piece or to receive the ball on the right wing, completely stop the defender's momentum, cut inside onto his left foot, and bend the ball in the top corner.
But I look at this and I see a massive potential liability. Is this team too reliant on Mahrez? Is it a Mahrez or bust situation like it has been in the past?
That's a fair question.
Because if the opponent double-teamed Mahrez and shut him down, the whole country used to shut down. And if he's not tracking back to play defense anymore, doesn't he completely expose that right side we just talked about?
He would, if Petkovic hadn't designed the entire tactical system specifically to protect him.
Wait, really? How does that work?
This is the genius of the current setup. Petkovic accepts that Mahrez won't defend, so he creates an asymmetrical formation. When Algeria loses the ball, the entire midfield shifts toward Mahrez's side to do his running for him.
Oh, wow.
You have players like Hicham Boudouig in the midfield, who routinely averages 12 kilometers of running a match. Boudi essentially plays two positions at once, acting as Mahrez's defensive shadow.
So they just carry him defensively?
Yes. Petkovic uses Mahrez exclusively for moments of elite, high-leverage creation.
And he's not afraid to pull the captain off the pitch either, which is huge.
Exactly. Petkovic will happily sub Mahrez off around the 60-minute mark to bring on incredibly dynamic, high-energy younger wingers like Anas Haj Musa.
Which preserves Mahrez's legs.
It preserves his legs, keeps the opponent guessing, and ensures Algeria doesn't carry a defensive passenger for the full 90 minutes.
Now, Mahrez is backed up by other veteran anchors, too. Aissa Mandi holds the all-time appearance record for Algeria with 117 caps. He's 34, bringing immense calming leadership to the backline.
Very important.
And Nabil Bentaleb provides that crucial bruising box-to-box experience in the midfield. So the old guard provides the steady heartbeat. But the sheer adrenaline, the absolute electricity of the squad is coming from a completely new generation of diaspora talent.
The breakout stars.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about these new guys.
This is the future of Algerian football, arriving right on schedule for 2026.
Let's start with the kid they call Mazzadona, Ibrahim Mazza. He is a 20-year-old playmaker for Bayer Leverkusen. And his backstory is like something ripped out of a Hollywood screenplay.
It really is.
He was born in Berlin to an Algerian father. He grew up in the German system. He played his entire youth international career for Germany. He was deeply embedded in the European footballing machine.
But then it switched.
Right. In late 2024, he shocked everyone by officially switching his sporting allegiance to Algeria.
And the reason why is profound. We can connect this to the bigger picture. Back in 2014, when Algeria played Germany in the World Cup round of 16, they pushed them to extra time.
The Mboli game.
Yes. The Algeria goalkeeper, Riyad Mahrez, was making heroic, logic-defying saves. Islam Samani was battling German defenders. Well, Mazza was watching that match on a television in Berlin with his family as a 9-year-old kid.
Wow.
He saw the sheer pride, the defiance of the Desert Warriors pushing the eventual world champions to the brink. And he decided right then, in his childhood living room, that one day he would wear the green shirt.
It's a beautiful, generational, full-circle moment. But beyond the narrative, what does Mazza actually do on the pitch?
Tactically, Mazza is the creative heir apparent to Mahrez, but he plays centrally. He operates as a classic number 10, floating in the pockets of space between the opponent's midfield and defensive lines.
What tacticians call the half spaces.
Exactly. If you imagine dividing the pitch into vertical strips, the half space is that deadly corridor right between the wing and the center. It's where defenders are most confused about whose job it is to mark you.
Am I marking him or are you marking him?
Exactly. Mazza thrives there. He has an exceptionally low center of gravity.
You know, I like to think of Mazza as a safecracker working in the dark. He isn't trying to blow the door off its hinges. He relies on tiny, subtle, hyper-quick touches in incredibly tight spaces to find the exact click that opens the lock.
That is a perfect description.
When a team drops into that low-block human wall we talked about earlier, Mazza is the guy navigating through a phone booth of defenders to slip the final pass through. I mean, in the Bundesliga, he's maintaining an 85% pass completion rate while executing 2.5 successful dribbles a game.
Those are elite numbers for a 20-year-old in traffic. Elite.
But if Mazza is the safecracker, the player operating ahead of him is entirely different, Mohamed Amora.
Amora is a completely different beast.
If Mazza is picking the lock, Amora is the guy who just attaches a steel chain to the vault door and hits the gas pedal on a stolen truck.
Yeah, Moura's terrifying. He's a 26-year-old forward playing for VfL Wolfsburg. And the statistic on him that completely derailed my brain when reading through the sources is his top speed.
Oh my goodness, yes.
He has been clocked in-game sprinting at over 36 kilometers per hour. That is Olympic sprinter territory. It alters the fundamental physics of the match.
Because of that speed, opposing defenses are essentially paralyzed.
Exactly. You cannot play a high defensive line, meaning your defenders step up near the midfield line to compress the pitch, because if you leave 40 yards of empty space behind you, Moura will simply outrun every single player on your team to get to a long pass.
He scored 10 goals in the African qualifiers almost entirely by exploiting the panic of defenders who were terrified of his pace.
He is the razor edge of Petkovic's counterattacking spear.
Which brings us back to the man we started this whole deep dive with, the name that every single casual football fan globally is going to recognize on the roster: Zidane.
Specifically, 28-year-old Granada goalkeeper Luka Zidane.
The son of Zinedine Zidane. And it is so incredibly easy to dismiss this as a PR stunt. I mean, the son of France's most iconic player choosing to represent his paternal grandparents' homeland of Algeria, wearing a mask after breaking his jaw in April, just to make the squad.
It sounds like Netflix manufactured it.
It totally sounds like a gimmick.
But it absolutely isn't a gimmick when you look at Petkovic's exact tactical demands for a goalkeeper. It is not a PR stunt. Petkovic's system relies on building attacks from deep in their own half to draw the opponent out.
Right.
To do that against modern, high-pressing teams, your goalkeeper can no longer just be a guy who stops shots with his hands. He has to essentially be an 11th outfield player. Luka Zidane is an elite sweeper keeper.
Let's explain that for the listeners because it's crucial. Sweeper keeper means Zidane doesn't just stand on his goal line. He pushes up almost outside of his penalty box when Algeria has the ball.
Right.
He acts as a passing node. He has the footwork of a midfielder. So when the opponent's strikers run forward to pressure Algeria's defenders, the defenders just pass it back to Zidane, who calmly uses his elite distribution to pass it around the pressure.
He completely defuses the opponent's trap. Structurally, he is essential to the way Petkovic wants to play out from the back.
Yeah.
And the broken jaw incident proves his psychological commitment. He's not there to sell shirts with his famous surname.
He's there to bleed for the tactical system.
Exactly. And when you add in players like Fairs Gajemis, who has an insane story, by the way.
It's a Cinderella story.
Yeah, 23-year-old winger who literally went from playing in the French amateur fourth tier to scoring 15 goals in Italy's Serie A to making the World Cup squad in just a couple of years.
Incredible.
You have a squad bursting with pace, technical mastery, and incredible hunger.
So we have the complete picture now. We understand the cold pragmatism of the manager. We see the tactical blueprint of overlapping fullbacks and high-speed transitions. We respect the fading royalty of Mahrez and the blazing speed of Moura.
The tools are all there.
Now, we have to look at what they are actually stepping into, because when you look at Group J, you realize they are walking into an absolute gauntlet. Let's break down the matches, because this is where the theory meets the grass.
It is a brutally unforgiving group. There are no easy points here.
Game 1, June 16th. Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City. Algeria opens their World Cup against Argentina.
The defending world champion.
Lionel Messi, Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister. It is the ultimate horrifying baptism of fire. How on earth does Algeria approach this?
Tactically, this match is entirely about survival, suffering, and opportunistic execution. Argentina will completely dominate possession of the ball. They will press high, and their attacking fullbacks, like Nahuel Molina, will push way up the pitch.
Right.
Algeria has to accept this. They cannot let their pride trick them into trying to play short passes out from the back against the Argentine press. It will be suicide. Instead, Petkovic will instruct his team to suffer in that low block, absorb the pressure, and rely entirely on Mohamed Amour's 36-kilometer pace.
Right, because when Argentina's fullbacks push up to attack, they leave massive pockets of space near the corner flags.
Exactly. Algeria's only hope is to win the ball deep, bypass the midfield completely, and launch it into those channels for Amoura to chase. Defensively, the matchup to watch is Riyad Mahrez trying to lock down Argentina's right side, dealing with Messi drifting into his zone.
Good luck with that.
Honestly, getting a single point out of this match would be a historic miracle for Algeria. The primary objective is simply damage limitation. Do not lose 4-0. Keep the goal difference respectable, because the entire tournament hinges on what happens 6 days later.
Right. Which brings us to Game 2. June 22, they fly from Kansas City to Levi's Stadium in San Francisco, a massive change in climate and travel fatigue. Algeria versus Jordan.
This is the absolute non-negotiable must-win. Jordan are tournament debutantes. On paper, man for man, Algeria has vastly superior talent playing in top European leagues.
But remember our entire discussion about Algeria's fatal flaw?
The low block.
Exactly. Jordan is going to do to Algeria exactly what Algeria tried to do to Argentina.
Yep. Jordan's manager is going to look at the tape, realize they cannot match Algeria's speed, and they will park the bus. They will pack 10 men behind the ball and essentially say, prove you can break us down without space to run.
And if Algeria gets frustrated, if their passing becomes slow and horizontal, Jordan could easily intercept the ball and hit them on the counterattack in those wide areas left empty by Ait Nouri and Ben Sebaini.
This is the match where Ibrahim Maza and Riyad Mahrez earn every single penny of their paychecks. Maza needs that tight space, safe-cracking ability to navigate the phone booth. Mahrez needs to deliver a flawless free kick or corner to break the deadlock.
If Algeria wins this, they set up what might be the most emotionally charged match of the entire group stage. Game 3, June 27, back in Kansas City, Algeria versus Austria. And for the casual fan, this just looks like a match between two mid-tier nations fighting for a knockout spot. But this is actually a 44-year-old blood feud.
It is impossible to overstate the historical trauma and weight of this specific matchup. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to go back to the 1982 World Cup in Spain.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go back.
June 16th, 1982. Algeria pulls off one of the greatest shocks in sports history by beating powerhouse West Germany 2-1 with iconic goals from Rabah Medjer and Wakhdar Baloumi. They then beat Chile. They had 4 points.
Which was huge back then.
Huge. They were on the absolute verge of advancing to the next round, which was unheard of for an African team at the time. But the final group matches weren't played at the same time back then.
Which set up the darkest day in World Cup group stage history. June 25, 1982. Gijón, Spain. West Germany plays Austria.
Yes. West Germany and Austria knew exactly what the math was. If West Germany won by exactly 1 or 2 goals, both European nations would advance, and Algeria would be eliminated on goal difference.
So what happens?
In the 10th minute, Germany's Horst Ruesch scored. And for the next 80 minutes, the two teams effectively stopped playing football. They just passed the ball backward and forward on their own halves at a walking pace. They refused to tackle each other. It was blatant, undeniable collusion.
The global outrage was unprecedented. The German television commentator famously refused to speak for the second half, telling viewers to turn off their sets. The Austrian commentator told viewers to feel ashamed.
Algerian fans in the stadium were waving banknotes at the players, accusing them of bribery.
It became universally known as the disgrace of Gijón. It was so offensively anti-competitive that it literally forced FIFA to permanently change the rules of the sport. It's the entire reason that today, all final group stage games are played simultaneously, so teams can't collude based on the math.
But for Algeria, the rule change didn't heal the wound. That golden generation was robbed of their moment on the global stage. That trauma was passed down. So now, in 2026, playing Austria in a decisive do-or-die World Cup group match is a deeply emotional, generational revenge narrative.
The players on this 2026 squad grew up hearing about Gijón from their fathers and grandfathers.
But they have to divorce the emotion from the tactics, because this modern Austrian team is a nightmare to play against.
They really are. Under their manager, Ralf Rangnick, Austria plays a system known as gegenpressing.
It is a highly physical, hyper-aggressive, high-pressing monster of a system.
The moment Austria loses the ball, they don't retreat. They swarm the ball carrier with 3 or 4 players instantly, trying to cause a turnover as close to your goal as possible.
Exactly. And if Algeria tries to play their short, possession-based build-up through Luka Zidane against this Austrian press, they will be suffocated and destroyed.
So how does Petkovic counter the swarm?
He has to completely bypass it. Petkovic will likely abandon the midfield build-up entirely. He will deploy a flat, bruising 3-man midfield just to physically protect the center of the pitch.
Makes sense.
And offensively, he will rely on his center backs to hit long, direct, diagonal switches of play, flying the ball completely over the heads of the pressing Austrians directly to Amora or Ait Nouri. It is going to be a grueling, incredibly physical, and violently fast battle of tactical willpower.
Wow. And when you look at the betting markets right now, the odds makers respect the volatility. Algeria is sitting at 4,001 to win the actual tournament, which is obviously a massive long shot. But they are listed at 192 to win Group J. But the realistic expectation from analysts, the goal that defines a successful tournament, finish second or third in the group and advance to the round of 32.
And we have to remember the new expanded format of this 2026 World Cup. With 48 teams, The best third-place teams advance to the knockouts. Securing a win against Jordan, taking your beating from Argentina, and fighting out a bloody draw against Austria might be exactly enough math to see Algeria through.
But before we wrap up this massive deep dive, we have to talk about the sensory experience. Because if you have never watched an Algerian national team match, you are entirely unprepared for the absolute spectacle that is going to surround this team in Kansas City and San Francisco. It's not just about what happens on the grass, it's about the aesthetics and the atmosphere.
The visual and auditory experience of an Algeria match is entirely unique in global football.
Let's start with the visual, the kits. Adidas has done something truly spectacular for 2026, tapping deep into that cultural identity we discussed at the top of the show. The home jersey looks white from a distance, but when the camera zooms in, there is a gorgeous, subtle, textured design physically woven into the fabric that evokes the rolling, windswept dunes of the Sahara Desert.
That's beautiful.
It's paired with sharp, vibrant green accents that just make the flag's colors pop off the screen. The away kit is equally stunning, a sleek, menacing, double green palette with subtle vertical lines and a unique sharp collar that embraces the red star and crescent of the Algerian flag. They're going to look incredible.
But the real spectacle won't be the fabric, it will be the noise. The North American Algerian diaspora is enormous, and they are going to descend on these stadiums in massive coordinated numbers.
It's going to be wild.
When you tune in, you are going to hear a literal wall of sound. They bring darbukas, the traditional goblet drums that provide this relentless, pulsing heartbeat to the match. You will hear blaring trumpets cutting through the air, and above all of it, you will hear the ceaseless, iconic, deafening chant that defines the team. 1, 2, 3, Viva l'Algérie.
It creates an intimidating fever-pitch atmosphere that completely swallows the stadium. And historically, that noise can either push the players to miraculous superhuman heights, or if the game gets chaotic, it feeds into that frantic energy and breaks their discipline.
Yeah.
It is a true sensory overload.
So as we bring all of this together, what stands out to you? When you turn on your TV on June 16th and watch Algeria walk out against Argentina, what should you be looking for?
Yeah, what's the key?
Ignore the ball for a second. Watch how Petkovic manages the chaos from the sideline. When Argentina's defenders push up, watch what Mohamed Amora does at the bottom of your screen, lurking on the shoulder of the last defender, waiting to explode into that empty space. Can Petkovic keep his players structurally sound under the deafening noise of their own fans? Can the sheer speed of Les Fennecs outrun the rigid, tactical discipline of European and South American giants? That is the defining question of their tournament.
It really is. To recap this incredible journey, we are looking at a team returning from a 12-year wilderness, guided by the remarkably cold, pragmatic mind of Vladimir Petkovic, a squad blending the fading, elegant magic of 35-year-old Riyad Mahrez with the blazing 36-kilometer-per-hour terrifying speed of Mohamed Amora, the tight space safe-cracking of young Ibrahim Massa, and the immense, almost poetic narrative weight of Lucas Zidane in goal.
What a cast of characters.
Yeah, they face an absolutely brutal group, battling the defending world champions, a stubborn Jordanian wall, and the 44-year-old ghosts of the Austrian Dijon disgrace.
They have the exact transitional toolkit needed to cause a massive upset, but they walk a razor-thin line between glory and collapse.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over before the tournament officially kicks off. We've talked deeply about their tactical evolution, the historical trauma, and the heartbreak of the last decade. But consider this specific scenario. If Algeria manages to survive the gauntlet of Group J, they enter the chaotic, sudden death knockout stage. And this is a team whose entire history is defined by toppling giants when the lights are brightest.
Press Germany in '82.
Right. Pushing Germany to the absolute brink in 14. If they make it to a penalty shootout against a massive European heavyweight, with the weight of an entire continent watching, holding their breath, could the mask-wearing son of a French football icon, Lucas Zidane, be the one to dive across the goal line, make the crucial save, and finally shatter the glass ceiling, taking Algeria further than any African team has ever gone?
It would be the absolute ultimate script.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes on Kansas City on June 16th. It's going to be an unbelievable ride.